Alright, so boom. We gotta talk about Brittany Renner. Because initially I was gonna do a whole Twitch stream where we watched the Club Shay Shay podcast interview she did with Shannon Sharp and go piece by piece and break everything down. However, I saw a clip circulating across social media that made me want to change my tune on how I want to do this video, where she had this to say.
Since nobody is worthy of the punani, so I gotta give it to myself.
Exactly. Wow.
These men are not even consistent enough with their communication and their texting for me to even put myself in a position for you to mount me.
Now, I know what you're thinking. The very same thing that I'm thinking. Ain't this the same woman who said she's been mounted 35 times?
I've had sex with 35 guys. Okay?
Whew. Oh, Lord.
Impressive isn't
Woo.
the word. So if I'm judged for
Anybody else need a shot of this?
if I'm judged for having great taste,
We are in a bar, so help yourself.
Ain't this the same woman who said half of those 35 bodies happen to be one-night stands?
So you said your count is 35?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel about that number?
It's kind of like annoying because at least half of my list I only had with one time.
What you talking about? These dudes don't deserve what's in betwixt your legs when you done gave it away 35 times, ma'am. Moreover, hasn't it appeared to y'all that on these podcast tours that she just so happened to go on, she's very inconsistent in how she delivers, how she really feels about her body count, history, and how she portrays herself publicly?
so I think about the ramifications
Yes.
of telling people that I had sex with multiple men. Yes, I don't care. It's the truth. If you don't see me as a potential dating person, then great. One less heart to break. Leave me alone.
A few moments later.
But I still have to wear those.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I
still
mean?
have to have
It
them.
still happened, you know? But I think that's the only thing that's annoying is that that's my number and I can't even have on a regular basis. It's usually quarterly. Like that's kind of been my schedule. Unless I'm in a relationship or, you know, talking to someone, you know, that pre-commitment phase, which has not been anything recently. Yeah, it sucks. So over half my, probably about half my list, one time. So
I think that is how it is for a lot of girls, I would say.
that sucks.
She puts on this facade of being this incredibly confident, own yourself, own your truth, move the way you want to move kind of individual. But if you really sit there and unpack all of the different podcast appearances she just so happened to be on, because I sat down and I binged Brittany Renner content for about, I want to say 11 hours in an effort to go and do this video. There is nothing but unpeeling of absolute pain, insecurity, disgust within oneself, and above all else, lying to herself. Because let's just keep it real here. For an individual of her status, per se, as it pertains to where she sits on the social media pecking order, this is an individual who has publicly went on the record and talked about the people who she dealt with sexually in the past, not only on social media, but in a physical book that she sold tens of thousands of copies, maybe hundreds of thousands of copies for profit about her sexual history and relations. Outed individuals who she just so happened to deal with, maybe not so much by name, more, you know, by profession, whatever the case just so happens to be. Publicly has a child with a NBA, not superstar, can't even really say star, let's just say employee, if you will. PJ Washington ain't nobody looking up the box score to see how PJ Washington performed. That's a different particular kind of conversation. But has a baby with a man who some can argue she groomed, given the age difference, and when she poached this man out of her, I should say, roster per se, but whatever the case just so happened to be. This is an individual who is known simply for what she's done with what's between her legs. And here it is, her going on all these podcast tours, talking about all of these owning herself. Mind you, this is somebody who said she slept with 3 people in one day and got a yeast infection.
I can actually recall it, pinpoint it perfect for you. There was a video that I did in my car where I was talking about how I had sex with, was it 3 men in a day,
Yes.
and then I ended up getting a yeast infection.
Yes.
That was I came out pretty unscathed for just a yeast infection.
Nasty bitch.
One would think to themselves, have you no shame? But her whole brand at this particular point, at least from her perspective, is an individual who can say nothing but the truth of her past and get whatever outcomes that she so desperately desires. However, this is something that I find very interesting, and she said it from her own lips. Actually, before I provide my perspective, it's better if you hear what she believes the outcome of her life, or I should say, the way she sees her life playing out, should be.
Don't fault me for doing the best I could with the awareness I had. So if a man doesn't understand that, because you just said a few minutes ago,
Yes.
a man can make that jump. Will he? Most likely? Probably not.
Right.
But guess what? Who's for
But
me?
he's not for this.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Who's for me?
Yes.
Who God, creator, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, who God designed for me, none of that matters. So I don't care about all these people yapping about what I'm not gonna get, because if I wasn't gonna get it, it wouldn't be on my heart. If I wasn't gonna get it, I would not be experiencing the dark side of this coin. And that's why the world will bear witness to true love. And they will become my footstool. And they will have to see this woman. This is my whole mission statement.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell the truth and still get everything I want. And they're gonna watch me. I don't have to play by your guys' rules. I do my way.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that? I'm sorry, man.
Now, isn't it very telling that an individual who has spent the vast majority of her career on social media, if not all of her time on social media, disclosing instances sexually in her past, disclosing past relationships that she's had in her past, disclosing how she moves, operates throughout her sexual health history in her past, somehow believes that nothing can go awry in the future? All she says is, well, you know, if somebody doesn't like it, then I guess that person's not for me. Have you ever left room open for the possibility that the individual who may have been for you has since passed you by?
Message.
Have you ever considered the fact that the individuals that you want do not want you? It seems like, and this is primarily women, okay? When it comes to options for coital affairs, individuals who want to sleep with you, there seems to be some sort of genjutsu that you're caught in where you think those options who want to sleep with you also want to be with you long term. Let's keep it 110%. If you were to line up all of the men who want to have sex with Brittany Renner in front of Brittany Renner and ask them, hey, do you want to marry this woman or be with her long term? A great deal of hands will go up because she's there. Now, remove Brittany Renner from the room, have her far away to where she'll never hear the conversation, and ask those same men, throw your hand up if you're interested in sleeping with Brittany Renner. Everybody's hand will be up. Keep your hand up if you're interested in marrying this woman. I promise you, gun to the side of my head, shoot me if I tell a lie. Vast majority of hands will go down, if not all. There will be a percentage who keeps their hand up, so I'm not gonna make it seem as if it's everybody, but let's be 110% real here. There's an individual who got a book out talking about the individuals that she done messed around and slept with. This is somebody who publicly goes out, gives her doggone body count, discloses the fact that half of the individuals she done slept with was one night stands, slept with multiple people in one day, continues to say that she's really not gonna move relatively differently moving forward, sleeping with different individuals quarterly. Now don't get me wrong, 5 years ago, remember when I made my video on Brittany Renner? She had, I think it was 24 or 25 at the time in 2018.
People want to know my body count. I don't know why in like 2018 that's any of your fucking business or why it matters, but 24.
What a coincidence, 24. It just so happened to be my Kobe year. I'm 24. It's Kobe Bryant's birthday today. Oh, you were talking about how much dicks you took. Oh, carry on then.
11 athletes.
11?
11.
5 entertainers.
5. 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. 5 times.
8 regular guys.
8?
8. The worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, I mean, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really done.
I don't even look at people as like trashy or not. It all comes down to mentality for me. I've never been about money. It's never been about that. But it's like, especially me not getting 200,000, which people always say that, which is like, I'd have all my homegirls get pregnant by him if that was the case.
Fast forward 5 years, now you up to 35, right? So let's just do a little bit of math here. In 5 years, you go up by either 10 or 11. So that's 2 per year. But you were in a monogamous relationship for about 1.5, 2 years with PJ Washington. So then, of these felonious, particular kind of dudes that you done messed around and slept with, what was the intentions going into it? Because were those also individuals who you just so happened to sleep with one time? I don't need to get all up in your business, but you put it on social media, so now it becomes my business. What are your intentions when you go into these things? You have a young child that will now become an adult. What sort of discipline, what sort of sexual discipline are you going to instill into your child with the way that you move publicly now? It doesn't seem as if you have any sort of thought process for what the next 15, 20 years is going to look like down the line. I've said time and time again, look at these particular kind of individuals and how they navigate. Now, when you're young, you can get away with it. You in your 20s, you in your 30s. Hell, dare I say, if you in your 40s now with the advent of social media, you can get away with talking in this particular kind of way. Because you think, because you still have your good looks, and there's individuals who just so happen to still want to sleep with you, that you still got options. Show me a hoe, harlot, courtesan, content wench, who at 50, 60 is walking around, smile on their face, happy at how they navigated through life if they move this way. You can't find one. And those who are able to find that diamond in the rough, I need you to understand that the exception doesn't make the rule. These individuals end up finding themselves incredibly miserable down the line. And it's about time somebody tried to have that conversation with her.
Look, like you said, public versus private. Now, if you and I having a conversation, and you're sitting here, we have a conversation, and you say, well, Shannon, I slept with this many men. Okay, that's one thing. That's between you and I. But to have that conversation, and then everybody, Sam, John, and everybody else knows it, that's a whole different ball game, Brittany.
That's fine with me. I mean, I feel that.
But see, that's selfish because all you're thinking about is you. What about him? He has got to be with you.
He has got to be with me?
You know what I'm saying?
He has the privilege to be with me. I don't want people to forget. I don't believe you can delete your wholeness. I don't want to. I would not want a clean slate today. Because you know why? This whole journey for me has been learning.
Yes.
So if I'm judged for the way that I learned, then so be it. I don't need you guys to forget anything. I don't want you to, quite frankly, keep bringing it up. Keep talking about it. Because there's so many people that are so curious about me in private, but they don't have the balls to try it in public, and that's fine. You're not for me. I don't need a guy that's gonna keep my record of wrongs. I thought that's what the Bible said.
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous.
Are you okay with the way it's played out thus far?
Absolutely. I'm at peace with it. There's nothing I could have done differently. I'm not.
Oh, there's a lot you could have done differently. Stop saying that there's nothing you could have done differently. Stop it.
This is the way I was meant to do it. I don't question fate. I accept my fate. I accept my destiny. So if that means that it takes me 10 years for my Mr. Wonderful to come, then that's fine. I'm patient.
Nothing. You wouldn't change a thing about the way it's transpired.
For what? Because here's the thing about regret. If I regret things that happened, then that means I have to erase the awareness that I gained. And I would not trade this awareness. I would not trade going back to when I was 20, 18 years old. I would not trade a clean slate for the wisdom that I have. I have a well of wisdom.
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Who had been saying that?
You know what I find interesting? And I always say this to people who happen to always complain about the individuals who they just so happen to frequent or deal with in their past. Of those 35 people who she slept with, have you ever left open room for the fact that maybe you're not good at picking a mate? Because not a single one of them worked out. Shannon even asked you if you ever, or I should say, if you're open to possibly giving a second chance. Have you spun the block, per se, with any of those again? And Brittany responded, oh no, well, I tried to give second chances and all it did was prove why I don't give second chances.
With any of those guys that you previously have slept with, would you be willing to, would you husband them?
I've given some second chances, and it just reiterates why I don't give second chances. I don't think that I don't believe that I have met my guy.
So you're shit at picking a mate, and now you have a child.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
A couple years ago when Deion Sanders was coaching in Jackson State, this is Brittany Renner's alma mater. He brought in Brittany Renner to address the team. The nature of the conversation was to educate those young men on the type of woman that they should avoid. The subject of the conversation in a keynote speech delivered by Brittany Renner was to stay away of what kind of woman? Her.
You brought Brittany Renner in to talk to your players. What were you trying to accomplish by bringing her in, this social media influencer?
Had I had Brittany Renner in a meeting when I was in college, I might be about $15 million more richer. Because she broke it down to these guys.
To her game and what she was trying to accomplish, and not her
No,
game,
just
but what
the
women.
women. And she even told them, I got more, the coldest line she said, I got more checks in my DMs than Nike.
How did that not click in your mind? Man's brought you in to talk to a bunch of young men to stay away from vultures like you. And let me say this lastly, just as it pertains to hypergamy, because it seems like a lot of people, especially in the red pill space and what's been going on all across the social media, we're trying to educate these dudes on what masculinity is supposed to look like. Women and hypergamy make sense. I said this 3 years ago when I made my video on Desiree Mitchell. Hypergamy makes sense. Women should want to date up. Women should go and pursue that high percentage of men. The best way to counteract that for men is to now become that higher percentage. Granted, everything's not gonna work out. Vast majority will fall short, but if you continue to yearn, or I should say, put the work in to try to elevate to that particular point, you will still come off incredibly attractive to the women who are looking for men who just so happen to be there. It's foolish as a dude to watch somebody like her and be like, man, I don't quite understand why you can't just mess around and be at this point. The way that she's moved, the network of people who she's around, she can't look backwards anymore because those people are no longer appealing. However, this is where the issue lies in how she's navigating amongst those men who she has access to. They're no longer courting you for marriage. They never actually were, because the moment that you came into the circle, you was simply the woman who you was calling over for a booty call and nothing more. Will you mess around and have more children in the future? Absolutely. Will one of those men in that higher, tax bracket, in that higher, socio-economical position, will they mess around and court you for marriage? The vast majority of the percentage would say no. Could it happen? Absolutely. But is it probable? Absolutely not.
But you can understand that you say
Because I like sex, like you?
Whoa, Britt.
Because I like sex? Because I'm curious?
We're mic'd up and we got boom mics.
I don't
we
give.
got
No, I don't care.
But I'm saying you can understand why people will find that hard about true love, because they're looking at it. True love is not what but what you're saying, what you're selling doesn't seem like true love.
What am I selling?
Well, I mean, when you go on and you in your car and you say, well, I had sex with 3 men.
That was back in 2018, by the way. Go ahead. Sorry, I mean,
no man, no woman can outrun their past, because all it does, it makes you tired when it catches up with you. So what you did in 2018, people still know about it in 2023. So this notion that you say, well, it happened 5 years ago, it happened 10 years ago. People have what they call the internet. People have what they call memory.
And before I even get into it, I know there's going to be a lot of people who say, well, if you're not interested in her, then why does it concern you? Live and let live. It's not your business. Here's an individual in Brittany Renner who just so happened to fit all of the mold of what would be considered an influencer. With that being the case, you have to consider who she's influencing, right? Because let's just keep it real. By not addressing what's being said and simply turning the blind eye, by proxy, you're enabling this behavior.
Facts.
Let's just say a grand deal of a percentage of young ladies were to move the way that Brittany Renner moves. Would you, as parents or parents-to-be or individuals who aspire to be parents, would you want your sons and or daughters, if your daughters just so happen to be a little kumsa, engage in relations, or I should say relationships with that pool of individuals who move in this way? Vast majority of people will say no.
No, sir! Not me!
I don't think I'm asking for the impossible. You literally just said that exotic dancers, lawyers, whoever, you love who you love.
Right.
Who you're drawn to is who you're drawn to. The average person is not gonna want to make that jump, and that's okay. Because I'm not talking to them. I don't need anybody average. I'm not average. There's nothing about my mentality that's average. I don't carry myself as average. I don't look average. I'm not mundane and forgettable. Just like I stand for something. I get so much flack because there's this little box, and people want me to just like suck, shut up, make an OnlyFans. Let me finish though. They want me to go over here and just admit that I'm a gold digger, that I trap guys, and that I only care about money. But because I go so hard about true love, it's a mother problem.
With your percentage of succession with picking a mate being 0 because not a single one has worked out, what's the probability of it working out in the future? When you sit there and you say, I just haven't met my match yet. As I said earlier, have you left open room for the fact that that match has passed you by, or that match doesn't exist? Because let's just look at numbers, right? How many more men are there of women?
There's less. A lot less, actually.
If every man in existence, adult-aged males, were to marry and exist in monogamous relationships with their equal as it pertains to number of women, how many single women would be out there? A large percentage. Millions. Brittany, you might be one of them. Wait a minute, it's fall season, and you know what that means. It's officially sweater weather, and I have restocked the hoodies on ChiseledAdonisShop.com just for you. It took forever, 18 months, but the inventory is finally here. And I introduced 3 new hoodies for the Chiseled Adonis definition, the Hold My Nuggets logo, and also from the east to the west, and of course, the Cardarius Tony special, What Happened to His Hands, are fully restocked alongside the most popular item, Put Your Motherfucking Head Back Down. So head over to ChiseledAdonisShop.com and grab your hoodie. Let the world know your affiliation. You mean to tell me you watched the entire video but you haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button and become a member on Patreon or on YouTube to get access to the Discord. We're waiting for you in the Shadow Realm.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true! Please! Please!
What are you waiting for, huh? Oh my God.